I'd like to call this meeting to order. First on the agenda, councilors, are there any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, we're ready to do a public meeting right off the bat. Just in the format we have adapted for our agendas, just have public meetings at the beginning of the agenda, and this will take about 10 or 15 minutes to get through. So I'll proceed with that. This public meeting is being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 and 51 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13, as amended. The purpose of the proposed modification to this draft plan of subdivision application is to shift the local location a turning circle on Street 23 off of Block 1254, including minor adjustments to the adjacent lot lines and to create 9 single detached building lots within Block 25. All of the proposed modifications are in the area of the draft plan of subdivision north of Uppers Lane. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the remainder of the draft plan of subdivision lands from a development D zone to zones that reflect the permitted uses of the Rolling Meadows secondary plan with associated holding provisions. This includes single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, street townhouse dwellings, apartment units, mixed uses, commercial uses, institutional uses, parkland and environmental conservation features with special provisions. The overall density of the draft approved plan of subdivision will remain unchanged. The applicant has provided the information and material required under Section 34 and 51 of the Planning Act, and accordingly, this application has been considered complete. An attendance sign-in sheet is located on the table along the wall by the council chamber door. If you wish to receive a copy of the forthcoming city staff report, recommendations report, and a copy of the city council decision, please add your contact information to the sign-in sheet. At the same table, copies of this evening's city's technical report are available for review, which includes all comments received to date. At this time, I'd like to call Ken Gagnon, planner with Upper Canada Consultants, on behalf of the applicant's Rolling Meadows development. Mr. Gagnon, welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Ken Gagnon of Upper Canada Consultants, and also with me this evening is Glenn Gordon, who's the developer of the Rolling Meadows community. We have a zoning bylaw amendment and a minor plan adjustment. Just to give you a bit of background, the plan was draft approved in 2008. Phase 5 is now proceeding, and phases 6 to 9 we're working on some of the final details of the servicing designs. The conditions of approval for phases 5 to 9 require subdivision agreements before any development can proceed. Even though the plan is draft approved, we need the agreements to proceed with the servicing. We need also some government agency clearances, which are very typical, and a zoning amendment to implement the proposed uses, which is what we're after this evening. The overall community plan is shown there. It's a little gray looking, but it's a very large plan, as you know. There's 2,100 housing units. It's going to accommodate over 5,400 people. The revised plan areas are shown in red. There's one on the west side, which is the apartment block. And there's also the little cul-de-sac in the northeast corner, which we're making some slight adjustments to for servicing efficiency. The yellow area on this plan is phase 1, and it's built out. Phase 2, the sort of mauve area there, is built out as well. Phase 3 is the purple area that's on the west side there, just north of that apartment block, and that's under construction. Phase 4, beside that, is under construction, and we're proceeding with Phase 5, which is on the bottom part of the plan, that sort of brownish, orangey colored area. And phases 6 to 9 is the blue, the area outlined in blue, and the 2 red line revision areas are shown in, outlined in red. There's the phasing status of the plan, the big east-west line going across. Basically, everything north of that is the draft-approved subdivision. The phases 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's approximately 200 units in that area, which are under construction or already occupied. Phase 5 is going to add another 54 units, and phases 6 to 9 is going to add another 157 or so. So by the time we're into 2018, we're going to be up to about 538 housing units. Here's the 2 plan adjustments blown up. The north of Uppers Lane on the left side of that slide up there is the apartment block, and really we're adding 9 units to front onto the street there in order to provide efficiency of servicing. Those are going to be like 12, 14 meter wide lots, and the apartment block is 2 hectares, which really adds up to about 150 units. The other side of the adjustment is northeast of Uppers Lane, and the only real adjustment we're making there is that we're pulling the cul-de-sac back off of the hydro corridor. It's just much simpler to have the road totally within private property for development rather than to deal with Ontario Hydro and all the issues with regards to them signing plans and all the legal documentation. So that's what we're doing there. There's 15 single detached lots in that area, again 12 to 14 meters frontage. There's a 4-unit freehold townhouse block and a little open space block there that provides frontage for the hydro corridor as well, which will eventually be used as a part of the open space system within the entire community. So the zoning amendment is shown there. We're zoning the entire community in order to implement the approved plans for the development. The yellow areas are residential first density R1B. That's basically single family housing. The sort of orangey areas are first density residential R1C. They're just a single family as well, but a little smaller sized lot. The sort of orangey red area is third density residential, which is site specific for freehold townhousing. We have residential fourth density R4A, which is for apartments. We have commercial areas. We have highway commercial along Highway 20. We have some institutional zones for some school provisions, and we have a lot of open space in there for pedestrian trails and walkways and interconnection throughout the entire community. So just to summarize, the proposed plan adjustments just simply refines the design into two small areas of the community, and basically it's just intended to provide for servicing efficiency, and there's no adjustment to the unit count or the density of the entire community. The zoning amendment is meeting the conditions of draft plan approval. It implements the uses within the plan and provides for efficient processing for subsequent phases of development. In other words, every time we come in to work on a subdivision agreement with staff and with council, we won't need to be processing another public meeting and going through all of the different bylaws for each and every phase of the development. There's holding provisions being attached to these zones to provide the city and the region with controls over future phases. In other words, we need to enter into the subdivision agreements and clear all of the other conditions of approval with all the government agencies prior to the subdivision agreements being signed by council and by the developers and before servicing can proceed. So we appreciate your approval this evening, and If there's any questions, comments, I'd be happy to try to respond. Thank you.
Are there any questions from our presenter? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Gagne.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to call Lola Emberson, our senior planner, to item technical report and department agency comments. Welcome, Lola.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Further to the overview provided of the site by the mayor and by Mr. Gagne, I will highlight the city's technical report. The application was circulated to the various agencies and municipal departments for comment, and the following correspondence has been received to date. The city clerk's department, building services, fire and emergency services, and operations and community service departments all had no objections to the proposed applications. Thorold Engineering Services had no objection to the proposed application, subject to the appropriate zoning being put in place to prohibit registration of any more than 250 units in total, or the servicing equivalent of 797.5 people in total, until servicing capacity is available. Belcanada had no objection, however noted that the owner will be required to provide Belcanada with any easements and will be responsible for all connection and or extension of infrastructure costs that may be required to provide confirmation that the development is serviced with communication, telecommunication infrastructure to provide the effective delivery of emergency management services, for example, 911. Enbridge Gas had no objection, however noted that the owner will be required to provide any easements that may be required through the draft plan. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority had no objection. Ministry of Transportation had no additional comments, however noted that the applicable draft conditions will continue to be in effect for the remaining phases of the subdivision and must be satisfied prior to any subsequent phases being undertaken. Ministry land use permits will be required prior to any construction in certain areas. The region of Niagara had no objection to the modification of the draft plan subdivision and the concurrent zoning bylaw from a provincial regional perspective, subject to a holding provision on the amending zones to address requirements for servicing capacity and development agreements, an updated noise impact assessment, and the completion of a Stage 4 archaeological assessment as recommended in the Stage 3 assessment. Also, regional staff noted that all existing draft conditions remain in effect with wording changes to the existing draft conditions 24C and 29 to reflect updated policy and information. Hydro One staff noted that their comments do not constitute an approval of any element of the proposed development. The developer must obtain approval for any uses, parking, landscaping, road crossings, etc., shown on the circulated plans through the provincial secondary land use program. They also noted that prior to final approval, lot grading and drainage plans must be submitted for review and approval, including temporary and permanent fencing along the edge of the transmission corridors at the developer's expense, and that an acoustical assessment should include noise from a transformer distribution station, and stipulate that any abatement required would be at the owner's expense. Planning staff will review the application in light of all the submitted comments, reports, studies, land use compatibility, and impact on surrounding land use, the physical design of the draft plan of subdivision, in addition to provincial, regional, and municipal planning policies, as well as all agency, department, and public comments prior to bringing a recommendation report to council. This concludes the technical report.
Thank you, Ms. Emberson. Are there any questions of our presenter? Seeing none, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the city of Thorold before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and modification to the draft approved plan of subdivision is adopted, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the council of the city of Thorold or to the Ontario Municipal Board. Now at this time, is there anyone present who wishes to speak for or against the application? Please come forward to the microphone. move on to my closing remarks. This fulfills the requirements of Planning Act RSO 1990 CP 13 pursuant to section 34 and 51. The city's general committee will consider staff's recommendation report when it is presented to the city council at a future date. Anyone wishing to receive a copy of city council's decision as a result of these applications is asked to submit their request in writing to the city clerk. As such, the public meeting portion of this application is now closed. Okay, we'll move back into our regular meeting. Move into minutes. Minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 17, 2017. Councilor Leon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Longo, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 17, 2017 be received and adopted.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Minutes of the special council meeting held on January 17, 2017. Councilor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Whalen, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on January 17, 2017 be received and adopted.
Thank you, Councilor Wilson. Are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Minutes of the special council meeting held on January 24, 2017. Councilor Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Neal, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on January 24, 2017 be received and adopted.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We have a couple of presentations tonight. The Federal Exemplary Service Medals, and they are going to be presented by myself and Fire Chief Satt. And they'll be presented to firefighter Ken Malash for 30 years of service and to firefighter Greg Kerr for 20 years of service. And just make a few comments right after that. On behalf of the City Council and our community, I would like to offer our gratitude and congratulations to Ken for 30 years of service and Greg for 20 years of service. The milestones you have each reached today demonstrate the true meaning of service and the dedication to one's community, and proof that volunteerism is alive and well in Thorold. On behalf of Council, I am honored to present you both with these certificates to demonstrate our appreciation for the years of service you have given to make the city of Thorold a safe place to live. And I sincerely thank you for all those years of service. I'll ask you to come forward with the chief for this presentation. I'll just read one of them out. As Mayor of the City of Thorold and on behalf of City Council and the community, I wish to congratulate Ken Malash for achieving the milestone of 30 years of service, 1987 to 2017. Your dedication and commitment to the citizens of Thorold as a member of the Thorold Fire and Emergency Service is greatly appreciated. Okay. Cindy White, Inspector, Metro Regional Police. Redeployment of police officers in the city of Thorold. Welcome, Inspector White.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm here to talk to you about policing in the city of Thorold and the efforts that we put into reducing crime in your area. I can tell you that over the course of the last 5 years, there has been a slight decline in the number of calls that the police receive for service. However, what there's also been is a slight increase in the number of calls for service that relate to speeding, traffic complaints really, and noise complaints in the area of Juneberry and Winterberry in Thorold. Based on those stats, what the service has done actually is run a special project in that area, and the staff sergeant who ran that program is here with me tonight, Staff Sergeant Eric Elwood. And what we have done is do targeted enforcement in that area. Over the month of January, we issued 95 tickets in that area to individuals who violated the Highway Traffic Act. The vast majority of those tickets were failing to stop for stop signs. The individuals who were stopped were an assortment of individuals who reside in that area, students who live in the area, and workers who work in construction in the area. We also have run 3 ride programs on 3 separate weekends in that area to try and identify any issues with impaired driving. Our efforts still continue with respect to that area to try and reduce any complaints that we have been receiving from the citizens and bring those down. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for Inspector White? Councillor Hanley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. I'm the council that actually requested you come forward in regards to the deployment. It's great to see what you're doing in Winterberry, but I was, we had someone here coming in regards to a platoon, how they go from Queenston Street and there's only 4 officers or 2 officers and they go to an area. And my concern was that, like EMS, there's certain times of the day and of the weekend when officers are drawn away from Thorold because you have an expected increase in activity in specific areas. And that was my concern because I asked for in regards to how they deploy officers. We, in fact, I don't believe have any, at any one time, officers actually stationed in Thorold.
We have 2 officers at all times working in the city of Thorold.
But not only Thorold. They're in a platoon that goes from Queenston Street further, or they're also responding to calls in St. Catharines.
We have 2 officers who are stationed who remain in Thorold. Of course, there are always emergency situations where they may be drawn down the hill. And in if the emergency is in St. Catharines or within the city of Thorold, officers will respond to Thorold to back those officers up.
I appreciate.
So it's kind of an ebb and flow, sir.
No, I realize that. My concern is that I look at it, I even said to Councilman Mayor, I part promote how much we pay our full-time firefighters, but what we pay is a city towards police presence within our municipality, and we look at it dollar for dollar, and if I relate it to the fire services, I as a councilor honestly don't believe that we get the services that we deserve as a councilor. So that's why I asked for deployment. Like, to me, we're probably still the only municipality in the Niagara region now that doesn't have a community policing office, unfortunately. And to me, I think for the amount of dollars that we spend in Thorold, that we should have a better presence in the city of Thorold. My concern was the deployment officers. Yes, there's 2 here in Thorold, but I'm not going to dispute the fact But my concern was in asking is that I don't believe that we get as much representation from Niagara Regional Police that we deserve in regards to the dollars that we pay towards the service. Not that we're not getting into a service, but I'm just comparing ourselves to Niagara Lake and the amount of people that they have there in Pelham. I believe there's a higher police presence in those areas than there's actually in the Thorold. And that's my own personal opinion from what I've seen and from what I've taken from the public in general for a vast amount of the complaints. And I have respect you for taking care of Winterberry, but that's not the only problem in Thorold that we have problems with, and downtown's been never an increasing problem for us. But I appreciate all the efforts the police do, believe me, but I appreciate you coming in before council too this evening. But my concern was how we deploy officers within the city of Thorold, and I don't believe we have to here 24/7.
Actually, sir, I would disagree with you on that. You have 2 officers who remain within the city of Thorold 24/7. And you also have officers who are within minutes, right at the bottom of the hill, who come up to Thorold. I see it repeatedly, where you have significant numbers of officers up in Thorold working. Whenever you have issues in your downtown core or across University, you actually get extremely speedy service in this city.
And I appreciate that, but as I said, my concern is the amount of dollars that we spend as a municipality into the region, and I've always said this, I don't believe we're getting the amount of service that we deserve as a municipality. And nothing against the police service yourself, you all do a great job, but I'm looking over the taxpayers and the amount of money that we pay towards that service, and the amount of service I think that we should be getting as a municipality. And not that you're not doing it, I don't want to take the wrong.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Lee.
To you, Mr. Mayor, to Inspector White, I want to say the pilot project in the Winterberry area has done great. I want to commend you on that. The question, have you noticed from the time you started till now, has there been a reduction in offenses because of that police presence?
What do you mean? Could you define offenses?
Well, like you giving out tickets for speeding or rolling stop or whatever, have you noticed that number decreasing as the police presence has been there and people are more aware of the police presence?
I can say that at the end of this month, Staff Sergeant Elwood made a recommendation to me that we continue the increased presence in that area because the numbers of speeders and people rolling through stop signs were so significant.
I appreciate it.
So we are continuing on with this project.
And the only comment I've heard, like from the area, everybody that I've talked to said they've noticed that presence and they're happy with it. They were wondering though that, and this is a comment, not a question, that at the other end of Winterberry, not the Confederation area, and the far end, a lot of people now knowing a police presence at that end are going out the other end, so if we could mix up, you know what I mean, mix it up a little, so I think that might be a good suggestion. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Whalen.
Please, sir. But Dwight, thank you for coming out tonight. It's appreciated you coming. For some clarification, Councilor Henry asked you about the Thorold territory. Are we not part of the south end of St. Catharines any longer? Is that the case? Kind of our home area that's covered by your police? Like used to be, I believe, like say Queens Street up to I guess it was this side of Thorold itself at one time.
Yeah.
But now has that area been changed once?
No, it's still the same area.
So you're saying that we had 2 police present, so is it more on duty in South St. Catharines at the same time?
No, the numbers haven't changed. They haven't changed.
So in other words, we still have the same area from Queen Street to Thorold South, encompassing Thorold at the same time. So are they stationed in Thorold now and go the other way? Because it used to be heavily enforced up at Penn Center in that area, and they used to come to Thorold. So has that changed at all or no?
Right now, well, it's actually been this way for a number of years, 2 officers are deployed who remain in the city of Thorold working for their entire 12-hour shift. And then when they rotate out, 2 more come in.
That's great. So that being the case, finding a concentration problem, would be a chance you think that we could promote and push the fact that we get community policing established it in Thorold, because the presence here was great, even just having the sign on Front Street. People respected the fact that there were police that, like a sign there, and they went inside, filled out the reports and so on, and parked on Front Street, and walked around. And that presence made a lot rather than sitting in a car. So I
That
think-
storefront.
That's right. Do you think the possibility if we push promote that, might be a chance of doing it?
You can push that through to the police services board.
So maybe out of the business, I can bring that back to Mr. Mayor, and get that promoted. Thank you.
I have Councilor Longo, then I have Councilor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Inspector White. Inspector White, thanks for the presentation. I do have a question for you based on how you deploy your resources. You mentioned that you've been deploying extra resources into this problem area. Do you have any idea what percentage of that resource is being put there now? Like it's being taken away from other areas in the city. I just want to know if you have a figure on how much time, percentage-wise, you're spending in this particular area.
I wouldn't say, well, you know, we actually are deploying extra resources, but it's very strategic resources. We have, the Niagara Regional Police Service has a traffic enforcement unit, and they run the ride programs. So those officers have come down and they've spent the 3 weekends working in Thorold. So they are outside of my district, they're a separate unit. With respect to the officers doing the targeted traffic enforcement, those are the officers who normally work in Thorold. During the targeted enforcement has been designated hours that they've selected to target high traffic volume. So it's not that my uniform officers have, their presence has increased. They've just been conducting targeted enforcement.
Okay, so basically the same number of officers in the city just being deployed strategically.
Correct, sir.
Okay. And no idea on the percentage of time you're spending in that area? Is it?
No, we don't have those
No.
stats for you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, good evening, Inspector. We mentioned a little bit about community-based policing earlier, and a few years ago, we even had a committee set up here in Thorold, and that sort of went by the wayside because it seemed that your approach to policing changed from being a community-based policing to be having 2 officers in Thorold, and they, you know, complaints are stated and they're off to wherever the complaint is. What is your approach to community-based policing nowadays? I mean, Councilor Whalen just mentioned about downtown and having a police officer get out and actually walk up and down the street for half an hour, saying hello to the business people and checking things out a little closer than being in a cruiser. What is your approach nowadays to community-based policing? Is there still a community officer that I would phone up and say, you know, we have a problem with the community and somehow we're talking about Winterberry, and that's sort of community-based policing on a strategic way of doing things, but what is the approach from the police department's perspective?
My philosophical belief is in community-based policing. Police services in this day and age, and I think Toronto, the study that Toronto recently completed, really showed that community-based policing is something that's it's definitely needed, and I think all police services have realized that. Police services in this day and age, they can't stand on the, we'll call it the verge of the community and believe that they can, they can actively engage and deal with community problems. They have to actually get into the community, become part of the community, and engage the community to solve these problems. And so my philosophical belief, sir, yes, is very much in community-based policing. That's why I've stepped up, and I'm very happy to see the mayor re-engage the Thorold Town Council and bring Brock into it and members of the community. We have a problem, we're getting together and we're figuring out a way to address it.
Maybe to follow up on that is maybe meeting with the mayor more often. I don't know how often that the mayor meets anymore, but I know that the mayors used to meet once a month with the chief. Do they do that anymore?
Are you talking a time when there was a chief of police in Thorold?
No.
No.
Like Chief McGuire, for instance, in St. Catharines, or the region, is that the mayors used to meet once a month to discuss certain issues that are going on in their respective communities. And I don't think that happens anymore. And that's all part of community policing, is that we've looked after Winterberry, at least in the short term. What is the long-term strategy for that even? And I think that has to have a discussion on the overall aspect of the city of Thorold regarding community-based policing. And I think the last time I saw an officer get out of a vehicle downtown Thorold, and I'm downtown quite often, is that I've never seen one, not recently at least. So I think it's a matter of maybe you taking back our concerns from our perspective here in Thorold to see what can happen with a community-based policing effort other than the Winterberry effort.
Councilor, maybe I can jump in here for a minute. I have discussions with Chief McGuire on occasions, not mine, but I have to respect his schedule. I look at my schedule, it's nothing compared to what he has to do on a daily basis. It's very difficult for the chief to come out every month and talk to 12 mayors and one regional sheriff. I know that if I called Chief McGuire up tomorrow, I'd be in his office within 2 days.
Yeah, I understand that, and it may not be Chief McGuire that you're talking to, or the committee setting up for community-based policing is talking to, but I think we need more of this type of policing in order to make our communities a little safer. When the police are in their cars and jumping around here or there, even if they're in Thorold, so Thorold is still a big territory for two officers, is that we have to sit down and sort of say, this particular area, maybe we should be looking at that area, not just Winterberry, but other areas that maybe we, as a community, are down in the grassroots and see some things that maybe they sit down once a month or so just to go over the strategies and the situations and saying, okay, maybe we need a police officer for just a month downtown Thorold, for instance, and concentrate on that in that particular month. That's all I'm asking for the inspector to go back and let them know that we're ready and willing to help as far as the community-based policing effort is concerned, but we need the police department on site.
Okay, Councilor Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We know that social media becomes a very important part for the city organization of after-hour activities for some people in our community. The police using social media as well to find out what's going on in certain areas and responding appropriately to that?
Absolutely. I can tell you, probably, I don't recall the exact date, but it was just prior to Christmas, I believe, November. Social media by officers identified a keg party. And it was a Brock student keg party. And we took efforts to actually shut down that party quite effectively by executing a search warrant and seizing the kegs of beer prior to the party actually starting. So social media is a big part of what we do.
Just sort of follow up with that. I know the presence of police officers in a certain area at any time makes a difference. You go to Canal Road and you see if there's a cruiser sitting on the side of Canal Road, the speed that cars are traveling up Canal Road has changed dramatically. I really love seeing the blue lights flashing just around the corner for me when they come up past Block 7 and they're going too fast all the way up that road. So when the police follow this and they get into different parts of the community, we can expect that the police will also be there in the appropriate numbers to do something about a potential problem?
Absolutely, sir.
I know that was a long question for a short answer. Thank you.
I have Councilor Henley.
one more time, you know, it's great to see all the input. What I get from it is like, we could relate Brock to the casino, and hear me out. Niagara Falls gets what, $20 million from the casino? From Brock. And because of what's been said tonight, Brock costs. And Brock costs is taken away from the rest of the community. Increased by law enforcement costs, targeted deployment of the police to problem areas is taken away from them from going to other areas in the city. Increased transit wear, tearing roads, residential license implementation and enforcement. Infrastructure expenditure, DQ Road, 1.4 million. So why don't we do like the casino? They pay Niagara Falls. Maybe we should, in regards to what Councilor Neal said and the rest of the councils here, have Brock University pay for us for community policing. If we look at what we spend as taxpayers policing Brock, then to me, maybe a motion, I could even put a motion forward that we have Brock pay for a policing, because they're downtown Wednesday, they're downtown Friday, you know, and that there may be a great solution for us right here. For the monies that the taxpayers, the citizens throw out to police Brock University, then maybe Brock University can give back to us by having a community policing station put in downtown Thorold. Because we're probably the only municipality that doesn't have one, instead of the taxpayers are sitting in Thorold, or the VIA footing a bill to rent a storefront. For the monies we put forward as a community towards Brock, and for the amount of students we have in Brock, if I need to, Mayor, I think we put a motion forward that we have Brock University, we approach the idea that Brock University be approached with the idea of them paying for a community policing office in downtown Thorold to address not only the citizens' concerns in downtown, but to give an opportunity to be addressed all problems we have situated in City of Thorold, and we have plenty, not only in Winterberry, where we build these 18-room, 22-bathroom houses, not only in Confederation Heights, they're all over our municipality. It's been an increased cost in the city. Can I put something like that on the floor together, Mr. Mayor?
Just before you do that, I think CAO...
Or heads for beds, you know, or, right?
So we're just going to talk, he's going to tell you about heads and beds and meetings.
Everybody, let's get some cash yourself, Schmon here.
To you, Mr. Mayor, to respond to that question, what council did at the one last budget meeting was direct staff to meet with the Ministry of Colleges and Universities intent to receive some kind of heads and beds payment to the city of Thorold. Right now, as you all know, the city of St. Catharines is receiving the heads and beds portion. Our intention is to move forward and first off, I'll write a letter, then meet with the ministries of tourism, colleges and universities, and deal with them directly. As I said, we have approximately 6,000 students that live in Thorold. And you're absolutely right, there is an requirement for increased police services, a requirement for increased bylaw presence, roads that needs to be reconstructed, sidewalks need to be reconstructed, and definitely something we need to have ministries get our attention on this thing. So definitely we'll be pursuing that very shortly.
And heads and beds probably well into? They probably get something from Niagara College?
I would imagine that Niagara College.
And Niagara Link too? We're the only ones that don't.
Definitely go after them.
Okay. And we get that appreciate, yeah. Thank you very much.
Councilor Pion.
Just clarification on the last one, if it's strictly heads and beds, they're talking about we can't go up to well. The only reason we can do Brock is because part of their...
Please.
Yeah, sorry, I guess, yeah, I thought we were debating, but
No.
never mind. We can't
You're
go
saying
up,
who
we
may
can't,
be getting money?
we can't, yeah, do you agree that? No, just clarification, we can't go after well for it.
No, I just think they gotta get money also.
Yeah.
We
Thank you,
do.
Councilor. Councilor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We're going around twice now.
Just the last comment, and I'm just short. We appreciate your comments in that. Can you put us on your agenda maybe every 6 months, just to come to town and listen to what's going on? And some of the feedback, like this cake parties and so on, it's great to know that they're being resolved.
I'd love to say, this project isn't going to permanently solve the problem. It's a Band-Aid. And I think the Thorold County Gown, we've got some work ahead of us with respect to ensuring bylaws are in place, and ensuring we have lots of plans for St. Patty's Day and all of the events. Students moving out, students moving back in. We've got some work ahead of us.
It's greatly appreciated, these statistics you're giving us tonight, though. We get some comments from the residents about what happened, well, we don't know, so it's nice to get the feedback. Just let us know just what occurred, what the result was. We greatly appreciate it.
No more questions, just a quick one to you, Inspector, from myself. I believe that Brock has been paying for the overtime hours that the police services puts in, am I correct?
They pay for a portion of it.
Yeah, they have, so they are spending money.
Yes, they have budgeted a portion to hire police on overtime.
Okay. I just one final comment. I'd just like to thank you personally for the effort you put in for all. As first mayor, I greatly appreciate it for our council. I think it's sincere.
Thank you very much. And I'd also like to, if I may, extend your thanks to Staff Sergeant Elwood behind me here, who has really put great effort into running this project for me.
Thank you. Thanks to him also.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, that concludes delegation portion. We move into communications. I'll go back a few steps into my mayor's report. On Thursday, February 2nd, I along with several other members of council, had the opportunity to welcome the Métis Nation of Ontario to Schmon Parkway as they celebrated the grand opening of their new office in Thorold. On Friday, January 27th, I had the pleasure of attending the men's and women's Brock University basketball game and helped paint the Meridian Center red. This was an exciting night of sport and a great opportunity to support the Badgers, and they did win that game 74-69, and it was just a great night, a very, very exciting game. The Thorold Canada 150 Committee will be hosting a red and white dance this Saturday, February 11th, in partnership with the Thorold Community Activities Group at the Nick Bastiano Center. The dance is open for students in grades 6 through 8, and admission is only $1.50. Refreshments will be available for sale. Don your red and white gear and head out for an evening of fun with your friends from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that concludes my report. I'll move into communications. Items referred to council and items referred to city staff. Councilor Neal.
Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, second by Councilor Ugolini, that the communications on the list of correspondence 6B be received and directed to the indicated staff member.
Are there any items for discussion? Councilor Ugolini, Councilor Whalen.
Yes, the letter from the Thorold Mound, so I'll be bringing that up under other business to support the a motion to support the request.
Thank you. Councilor Whalen.
Same thing, Michael, thank you.
Same thing? Okay. List of committees, minutes, correspondence from volunteer committees. Councilor Hanley.
But the minutes of the agenda.
Hang on.
Oh.
Councilor Hanley, you on with it? Just intercept you for a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge one of our longstanding tourism committee members that has resigned a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to acknowledge Tony Van Ness for the efforts he's put in over the years as a chair. One of the kind of individual that I think really represents the role very, very well, and I want to thank you for all the work you've done. You've helped us through this process, Tony, and I really appreciate the work you've done for the tourism committee. Thank you very much.
I echo those sentiments, and Councilor Hanley, I apologize for that. You're up.
It's the corresponding minutes from volunteer committees, correct?
Yeah.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Longo, the communication on the list of correspondence 6D minutes correspondence from volunteer committees be received for information purposes of file.
Items for discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Reports, correspondence from the region of Niagara. Councilor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Wilson. The communication of the correspondence list 6E, reports of correspondence to the Region of Niagara, be received for information purposes and file.
Are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Items for information purposes. Councilor Longo.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Ugolini, that the communications on the list of correspondence 6F be received for information purposes and filed.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We're into reports. Minutes of the General Committee meeting held on January 17, 2017. Councilor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Neal, that the minutes of the General Committee meeting held on January 17, 2017 be received and adopted.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Minutes of General Committee budget meeting held on January 18, 2017. Councilor Neal.
I have one on January 24th, but I'll read it. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Ugolini, that the minutes of the General Committee budget meeting held on January 24th, 2017 be received and adopted.
Thank you, Councilor Neal. I apologize for that. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I'll take one step back to reports B. Minutes of the General Committee budget meeting held on January 18, 2017. Councilor Cahill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Longo, that the minutes of the General Committee budget meeting held on January 18, 2017 be received and adopted.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Minutes of the General Committee budget meeting held on January 31st. Councilor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Longo, that the minutes of the General Committee budget meeting held on January 31st, 2017 be received and adopted.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Other business. Councilor Ugolini, Councilor Wayland, Councilor Neal. Councilor Hanley. Okay, Councilor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion here, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Neal, that the council support the request from the Thorold Mount Sports Association for a 10% reduction of ice rates for this year's tournament.
So that's the motion on the floor. Speakers to the motion, and then I'll have Ms. Lopez. That's there, step in there. Councilor Ugolini.
Okay, I'll start it off. Okay, the Mounts hold their tournament every year in March. This year it's the weekend of March, the opening weekend of March break. Traditionally they use around 50 hours of ice. Prior to the last few years, getting back to last term, the Thorold Mounts always received a different rate of ice. They always had a rate that was roughly between the full-time rate and the minor hockey rate. That got changed to a full-time rate. They're finding it hard now to run the tournament at that cost because teams, the entry fee they have to charge for teams coming in has been raised to a level where it's affecting because there's other centers that are charging less for their ice. I know we're doing an ice review, and that ice review is going to come about for next year's ice. That's why they've asked for a one-time 10% reduction until we do the ice review. As you know, the Mounts are active in the community, and when they make money on events, they put it back into the community. They run a scholarship for Thorold High School. They're paying for an ice skating event over March break for Canada 150 for the youth in Thorold. They put money into the arena on different initiatives like buying the defibrillator, paying for other projects in the arena. They also have donated to the Santa Claus Parade and various other events in the community. And on top of that, they were founders, a lot of them that started to raise money when we built the new arena. So I think this request is not asking too much. And if you actually do the math, at a 10% reduction, we will be making more on that ice over them 4 days than we would have if it would have been used by the user groups that use it, because it's mostly groups that get a subsidized ice rate, as well as there's hours like Saturday night in the old arena that aren't even used. So that's why I'm supporting this motion, and that's why I request your support.
And I have Councilor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councilor Lee. This is the type of proactive arrangements we have to work for rather than just letting it slide and leave it empty. So just one question, what can staff tell us what kind of dollars we're looking at as far as, this is an overrun, so we have to find out where it's coming from.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the 10% cost would be approximately $1,000.
That being the case, we need to propose on, because this is a budget overrun already, so we have to find out where we're going to get the dollars from.
Maybe Maria can jump in here on that.
Through Mr. Mayor, I guess my only point was the council have to approve as part of the motion that a budget overrun in the amount of $1,000 be approved.
Okay, that is part of your motion, and the seconder okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, I am, but I have to ask a question related to that. Can I?
Okay, since I have to go to you to ask you.
I can say yes, it's a budget override on paper, but the reality is if there's no tournament, we would be losing more money than what we're making on that tournament. Because the hours that are would not have been being used, okay, would have been zero revenue, and the hours that would have been used by subsidized groups would have been less than we're making with the 10% reduction. So on paper, you can call it $1,000, but that $1,000 in reality is really not the case. Because if there was no tournament, we'd be losing a lot of money because those hours would be sitting empty or being paid for at a lower rate. So we're just surmising that we're going to use, we don't even know yet the exact amount of hours they're using. We're going to surmise that they're going to use 50 hours equivalent to last year. But the reality is, we really aren't losing money. I know what you're saying, you can make it sound like we're losing money, but we aren't, because if there was no tournament, then we seriously would be losing money.
Okay, I have Councilor Neal and Councilor Hanley. And Councilor Longo.
My plan, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Hanley.
If I came through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Ugolini. As far as entrance fees, what's the difference from Thorold and what they would have to charge to play in Thorold as other areas in tournaments? The difference in the fees, the minute, you know, why more or less the reason you're asking for this?
Well, the reason for the ask is it's gotten to a critical point where their entry fee has gotten to the point where it's higher, and now after this year, they're in a dilemma. If they have to keep charging more for ice fees in the future, the reality is there'll be no tournament.
Okay, Councilor Longo.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I support the, I know it's a budget overrun and I hate to do it the first meeting after going through our budget process, but for an organization that, if you go way back, helped fundraise for the arena, paid for a defibrillator, does things for students, they bring a lot to the community. There's a lot of members that go way back on this club, and again, just wish it wouldn't have come up this week, but sometimes we have to make hard decisions, and I would support the $1,000 budget overrun. I don't think these people would be asking for it if it wasn't a hardship on them, so I think I will support it.
Go ahead, Councilor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We asked our CEO and see if he had money in the EDO budget. We can get started. They're bringing a lot of people into town and they're doing a lot of good for us.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do have most of the money accounted for this year. There's a lot of different things that we couldn't do last year that I'd like to move the program forward, but I could look at reducing the amount of flags we put up on Pine Street or Claremont or Robinson. If we need to come out of that budget, we can do that out of the budget, but really regardless, it's a cost to the city.
Okay, we don't have any more speakers, just a comment. I think we support it, but remember, if we do it for them, we have to do it for anybody else that comes to the door. So if the TA comes to the door, or the junior black house comes to the door, what are you prepared to say then? That's my comment. Okay, I'll call the question. Okay, one more comment after what I
Mr.
said.
Mayor, can I ask a friendly amendment that we usually had a economic development budget for?
You don't care?
Then it won't be overrun for this already.
Yeah.
Okay, so the money comes from the economic development fund. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Bylaws. Bylaw number 09/2000.
Mr. Mayor, I think you have a list.
Yeah.
Other business?
I'll read the bylaw.
Okay, that was really question. Okay, I have you, Tim, then Neil, Councilor Neil, Councilor Hanley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. As far as further discussion with our police representative, do we need a motion to have everything put in place that Frank was going to do, or as well as looking into the possibility of approaching the NRPD to get another community policing site back in the go?
I'm not sure of the question.
We were gonna
With respect to heads and beds, or?
Yes.
That's already in place. I think if you're looking for a community policing office, you may want to put that as a motion for council's consideration.
So that being the case, I can put that on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is that we request from the Niagara Regional Police, the regional, okay, go ahead.
The motion on the floor is that the Niagara Regional Police Services be requested to reestablish a community-based policing office in the city of Thorold.
Okay, that's the motion.
Councilor Wilson, second.
Speakers to the motion.
Councilor Wilson,
Councilor Wilson, seconded. Councilor Wilson, seconded. Speakers to the motion. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I have Councilor Hanley.
A few items, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I have contacted the city administrator in regards to a gentleman, Felix Rosado, who bought the property on Allenport Road in Allenburg. He's unfortunately has been able to secure insurance for the property. For the fact of the matter, the city has not been able to give him an actual numerical address for the property. He instructed me today that Mr. Lestrapel had been informed and had gotten in contact with him, but for several days has not returned any calls. Here we have an individual bought a piece of property on Allenport Road, has been after the city for weeks now to get an actual numerical number for the address. And I talked to him this afternoon. To this time, he still hasn't been able to obtain that, Mr. Mayor. Now, my question is, it's a commercial property. If there was to be an emergency there, and he was to call 911, what's he supposed to tell him? Lot 2? Part of lot 3? To this thing? To this?
The CEO will answer that.
Okay, well, as of this meeting right now, this evening, I called the gentleman. He's been after the city for 2 weeks to get a number for his property and has been able to do so. So, did you give him one today? Must have been after 5th minute.
We've had a number of discussions with Mr. Zulo. He has a requirement to come to the city and actually put a building up. Engineering has a requirement that was edited, which was passed over to him. I would really appreciate that this information be done not in a council setting, respectfully. We have procedures, and I would appreciate the procedures are followed.
Okay.
I would suggest that this kind of stuff is done behind the scene. Mr. Zulo has been talking to a number of times already. Respectfully.
It's Mr. Rizzardo, not Miss Mayor. I hate to disagree, but I'm going to tell you something. If I was to buy a piece of property, when I got that piece of property, and obviously through a bill of sale, through a real estate agency, it's been registered, and I should be able to get an actual number for that address. Is this 1649 Allenport Road? Yes or no?
Councilor, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why, have you approached any staff members on?
Yes,
this
I
issue?
have. I have approached, and I'll send the emails right now. I've sent several emails. I tried to do it diplomatically. I'll send you the email that I first received from Mr. Rizzardo in regards to his complaint, why he wasn't able to actually get an actual number for his property. So I done the diplomatic thing, asked him to call the city, he did. I got in touch with the city administrator, he got in touch with Mr. Lisrocco, and there, to me, is no reason whatsoever that you cannot give an individual a number for a piece of property, because the fact of the matter is, when we went out there for a piece of property that was contaminated, they give us an actual number to the property. For the place across the street where the fire was, when we had the explosion, there's a number to that property. When we had, where Jim Grove's property was, and he had the fire in the back with all the instruments, there's a number to that property. If this individual was having an emergency tomorrow at his property, he could not give 911 a number to actually say, I'm at 1149 Allenport Road. Who's responsible then? Who's responsible then? And as if there's been no number given to that person.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, numbering of properties in the city of Thorold falls under the engineering department. Policy is if there's a building on it, we will number it. If there isn't, we won't.
Okay, so you're telling me then if I own a piece of commercial property, and because there isn't a building on it, I pull into my property, and I'm having a heart attack, and I call 911, then I'm going to tell them the city of Thorold won't give me an address where you can come and get me because there's no building on the property? That's asinine in today's thing. Come on. Where there's a title deed on the property, there has to be a number. Think about it. If this number is 1035 and this number is 1135, there's got to be a number in the middle. That's my concern. To sit there and say you can't give someone a number, he's using the property commercially, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor?
There has to be a number for the property.
Counselor?
Come on.
House is,
Okay.
to me is 43. My house is 47.
Okay.
There's no 45.
Okay.
If I get a heart attack, so if I get a heart attack,
Mr. Mayor, you're being asinine and saying that. Come on. You know where you live. If anything was happening on that property, Mr. Mayor, I'm not out of order.
You're out of order. I'm ruling you out of order.
The individuals asked out of order. Okay? Why am I out of order? Because the individual can't get an address for a city property?
I'm calling you out of order.
So when I go and find a piece of property that has no building on it, that actually has a number on it,
This council is in recess till, Councilor Andrews.
I'm arguing the point too. It's asinine.
We're in recess. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. And first of all, I apologize for the actions. Being loud and boisterous, that's not my style. You mostly know me. But you have to kind of, there comes a time when, you know, we have to take on the voice. And basically, that's what I did. And I'm determined to be in full control of the change from here on. Okay, running on to other business, I have Councilor Neal, Councilor Longo, Councilor Whalen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And following up on that, as you can see out in the audience tonight, Gordon Clan is here tonight, and it's for a positive thing. What I'd like to do is read a little comments. Gil Gordon is whom I'm speaking about tonight, and he was born just before the Second World War on a cold January day and in front of a well-stoked wood stove, centered in a small farmhouse in rural Thorold. As fate would have it, he would pass away 74 years later, just as 1,000 feet from that very same spot. My dad was the third of 4 children, and responsibility started
Pursuant to Section 50 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended for the Plan 59M-423, lots 33 and 34, municipally known as 41, 43, 45, and 47 Elderberry Road, Confederation Island Special Community, Phase 6. Bylaw number 12-2017, the bylaw number 150-2012, being a bylaw to regulate parking and traffic within the city of Thorold. Now this be read first time.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Neal, that the bylaw just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rules of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Bylaws number 13-2017 and 16-2017. Councilor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Payon that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw number 13-2017, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 150-2012, being a bylaw to regulate parking and traffic within the city of Thorold. Bylaw number 16-2017, a bylaw to license, regulate, and govern refreshment vehicles, carts, cycles, and that the same now be read a first time.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Payon, that the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Bylaw number 24-2017. Councilor Payon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Longo, the leave be given to introduce the following bylaw. Bylaw number 24-2017, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the corporation of the city of Thorold and the International Association of Firefighters Local 1182, the professional firefighters of the corporation of the city of Thorold, and that the same now be read a first time.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Longo, that the bylaw just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
All those in favor? Opposed? Did you want to speak to that? That's carried. Notices of motion. And this is this one?
Wow. I'll take this one over. It's lonely over here. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Payon that leave be given to introduce the following bylaw. Bylaw number 17-2017, being a bylaw respecting the care and control of animals in the city of Thorold. Bylaw number 21-2017, being a bylaw to authorize an agreement of purchase and sale for the lands identified as part of Block H, registered plan number 898, Part 1 on reference plan 59R-15753, and that the same now be read a first time.
Thank you, Councilor. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Payon, that the bylaw just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Notices of motion. I have one that I'm going to bring forward next council meeting, but actually we ask staff to decide when they want to bring it forward, and that is that, the motion that I want to bring forward is that it's with regard to the deputy mayor, the election of the deputy mayor throughout the term. I would like for the next term to start that all councilors serve 6 months as a deputy mayor. This way, there's no controversy, there's no hard feelings, everybody's the deputy mayor. So that's what I'll be bringing forward next council. Or whenever staff feels they, if it's a light agenda, bring it forward. It's a heavy agenda, delay for another council meeting, whatever you decide. It's good for me. And we'll move to adjourn, Councilor Eagley.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Neal, that this meeting is hereby adjourned at 8:26 p.m.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, general committee right away, or you want 5 minutes?
No, please.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. First on the agenda, councilors, are there any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, I'll move on. There's no delegation. We'll go into the administration section. Nothing in administration. We'll go right into finance. DM 2017-03 budget expenses excluding whatever that means, ODOT regular 284/09. Maybe you can tell me what that means.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that council approve and adopt report DF 2017-03 to meet the requirements of Ontario Regulation 284/09 with respect to expenses that have been excluded from the 2017 budget. And basically what this covers is things like depreciation on assets that we are responsible for recording them when we do our financial statements, but we don't have to include them in the budget.
Thank you very much. Could I get a mover for the report? Councilor Eagley.
So move the report.
Are there any speakers to the report? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, can we bring up forward TES 2017-05? I think we have a delegation here to listen to.
Sure. Put that motion on the floor.
Yes,
Okay. Motion is to move
2017-05.
okay, will be DES 2017-05 development charge refund for 16 and 18 Sullivan Avenue, 31 unit apartment building. Who's going to speak to us? Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the resolution is that the recommendation is that the criteria 5 of bylaw 74-14 be modified in this instance without the amendment to the bylaw to recognize that the development provides 100% of the dwelling unit types as multiples, and the criteria 5A, which is applicable to only subdivisions, should not apply. Number 2, that the request for a refund for the additional 50% of the city's portion of the development charge be supported.
Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Eagley.
So move the report.
Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We go back to the top of the development engineering services. DES 2017-03 traffic calming on Winterberry Boulevard. Mr. Dunsmore.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's recommended that council approve the installation of speed humps at 2 locations along Winterberry Boulevard. That council approves the installation of white paint markings to designate parking spots along Winterberry Boulevard, and that the traffic parking bylaw 150/2012 be amended to recognize the installation of stop signs at the intersection of Richmond and Winterberry Boulevard, marking this intersection as an all-way stop to be approved by council at a future council meeting. So concludes the report.
Thank you, Mr. Dunsmore. The mover for the report, Councilor Neal.
So moved.
Speakers to the report, Councilor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank Sean and Corey for the great job they did on this report and the recommendation. I know the work they put in, and I sat in at the open house, and it was a very vocal session. There was an excellent turnout, and one of the big things that come out of that meeting was that the residents did not want parking on one side of the street, with the reasoning being that if we had parking on one side, their concern was that all the students would move down and park their cars down the other end, so we wouldn't be resolving an issue. Staff took that into consideration, come up with a good plan, and we'll move forward with it, and then we'll see if it works, and if we got to modify it in the future, by all means.
Are there any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I like to echo Councilor Ugolini's sentiments there. I also believe it's a good solution to the problem. Okay. DES 2017-07, Rolling Meadows Subdivision Pre-Service Agreement, Phase 5. That's wrong, okay. DES 2017-04, City Initiative Zoning Bylaw Amendment for Merritt Meadows to permit reduced front yard setbacks.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff recommend that the draft zoning bylaw amendment attached as Appendix A be supported, and the zoning amendment bylaw be presented to the council for approval at this evening's special council meeting.
Mr. Tosta, can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Longo.
So move the report.
Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now I'll do DES 2017-07, Rolling Meadows Subdivision Pre-Service Agreement, Phase 5.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's recommended that council approve the developer's request to proceed with the underground servicing of Phase 5 of Rolling Meadows subdivision prior to the execution of the subdivision agreement, subject to the conditions set out in the pre-servicing agreement. That the appropriate bylaw authorizing the execution of the agreement be approved at special council meeting this evening. So concludes the report.
Thank you, Mr. Dunsmore. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Neal.
So moved.
Are there any speakers to the report? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We're into the clerk session. CC 2017-06, amendment to terms of reference for Canada 150 Canadian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's being recommended that council approve the amended terms of Canada 150 committee as attached. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Delvecchio. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Guillaume.
So move the report.
Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. CC 2017-07, summary of grant applications made by the City of Thorold in 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's being recommended that city clerk's report be received for information purposes.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Neal.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Speakers to the report. Councilor Neal.
I'd just like to thank our clerk for giving us the extra money that we haven't been getting the last few years. And let's continue to try and get as much as we can from those particular type of grants.
Are there any other speakers to the report? I'll echo Councilor Neal's sentiments and basically say the same thing. Thanks, Tommy. You've done a great job. Go ahead.
To you, Mr. Mayor, and not to take anything away from Don, who's done some amazing young lady when it comes to doing these reports and grant applications. But it is a collaborative engineering spends a lot of time, operations spends a lot of time putting information together and doing calculations as well as finance. It is a team approach, and definitely Donna is the lead, and she pushes. are people who are interested in the information, but I do like to commend the rest of the staff as well for the hard work they do to get these grants. And there's, from what I understand, new announcements will be coming shortly, and be happy campers. Thank you.
Thank you. CC 2017-08, amendment to the delegation of powers and duties of council policy for operational contracts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's being recommended that the proposed new delegation of authority with respect to operational contracts be supported. That a bylaw to adopt an amendment to Schedule A of the delegation of powers and duties of council policy number 100-28 be presented to special council this evening for approval, and that bylaw number 110-2014 be repealed.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Sharon.
So moved.
Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. CC 2000. Sorry.
Can I just go back on 07, we talked about it and thanked people, but we didn't vote on it.
We didn't vote on it.
No, we didn't vote on it.
I'll
I
call
just
the
want to make
question
sure
on-
that we...
I'll call the question on CC 2017-07. Obviously, I'm,
No,
Yeah.
okay, I'll call the question on that. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. CC 2017-09. Schmon Parkway, removal of easements in favor of the city of Thorold and take ownership of the land for road widening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's being recommended that the city agree to the removal of easements in favor of the city over parts 3, 4, and 5 as shown on Appendix A be supported. That removal of any development agreements no longer applicable that are registered on title be approved. That the city agree to take ownership of the lands as described in Appendix A. And that a bylaw be presented to council for consideration of this evening's special council meeting to remove the easements and the applicable development agreements and take ownership of the lands described to take the land right away. That concludes this report.
Okay. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Ewing.
Move the report.
Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We don't have anything in fire and emergency, and the general committee will now move into closed session. Immediately following the closed session, council will reconvene into open session to hold a special council meeting to ratify all the reports approved tonight. The general committee and to consider the following bylaws. Bylaws number 14, 15, 22, and 23-2017. I have a motion to move into closed session to discuss 1, Chief Administrative Officer's verbal report about 14 St. David Street West in-camera security of municipal property. 2, to adopt the minutes of the confidential general committee minutes January 17, 2017. Is there someone who will move that? The one in camera?
I was in Wayne Arrow, Mr.
Councilor Neal, all those in favor?